Welcome back. It is Wednesday, July 26th, and the MLB. Our four favorite picks are on the way. It's awesome. Joined by Logan. Let's recap yesterday, a 1-2 day. Let's talk about it. The Royals Guardians first five over. Kind of need a miracle. Shout out Bo Naylor. We appreciate you for clutching up. Now the Padres first five team total over 2.5. Ended with two. They had 2 runs in the second inning and then had plenty of chances. Just could not get a sac fly to save their lives. But that's been the Padres all year long, so I'm not going to complain there. And then the Nationals -0.5 in the first 5. They did not win that. Of course, they won outright on the full game, but that's just been the nature of Logan's bets over the past couple weeks. But we're not going to dilly-dally on it. We got 4 picks. We kind of switched up the card today, and hopefully it leads to great results because obviously over the past couple weeks, having a great result, so mixing up a little bit of things, but I'm feeling good about the slate, and I'm just going to dive right in and go. We got a bunch of early games today, and Logan, I'm going back to the scene of the crime for your pick, and I'm going to the Rockies and taking their team total under 4.5 runs, -110 on BetMGM. Now, I fully did a look at the full game under for this one too. However, this Rockies bullpen is depleted. I don't trust their starting pitcher, and I'd rather just fade the Rockies offense as a whole because yesterday they got me thrown out there. I mean, they got Trevor Williams, but it looked like I was throwing because I was just throwing right down the middle of the plate. I mean, Trevor Williams, I could have probably gotten a hit off him yesterday, one of his worst outings of the year. And I Logan, when he hears the name Trevor Williams, he's like cringing and his teeth are chattering. But let's talk about why we're fading the Rockies, because in the series so far, we've seen the Rockies score 10 runs in the first game. They cut that in half yesterday to 5 runs, so maybe they can cut it in half again today. And I just don't trust them because you look at last night, they obviously had a bunch of rain delays. The final game didn't end until I think almost midnight, maybe after midnight. And now they got a quick start right at 12 p.m. noon. And I just think the Rockies aren't going to show up for a couple reasons. Number one, it's the Rockies' final game of their 6-game road stand before they go back home. So maybe number two, the bats are already loaded up on the plane, ready to go home. Or maybe number three, the Rockies maybe give you one of the bad lineup out today, which wouldn't surprise me at all. Now, you look at so far this season in the final game of a road trip, whether it's like a 3-game road trip, a 6-game, 7, however long it is, this is how the Rockies have done in that final game before they go back home. They've scored 2, 0, 1, 4, 3, 0, 3, and 0 runs scored, going under this 4.5 team total in all 8 occurrences. Now, obviously, baseball is psychological more so than we can give you all the stats by a pitcher, but at the end of the day, these are guys that are coming out trying to swing the bats, and they obviously have not done it on the last game of the road trip, whether that's the Rockies putting out bad lineups, maybe facing some good pitching. All in all together, I just don't like the Rockies today. I think they stink up the joint. And we look at who's going to start for the Nats. It's going to be Jake Irvin, 4.87 ERA and a 1.43 whip. At home, he's actually been better in terms of batting average, allowing just a 243 batting average compared to 303 on the road. And Irvin actually coming off a career performance in terms of strikeouts. His season high, career high, he's only had 13 or 14 starts in the MLB. He went out there, went 6 2/3 innings pitched, allowed 5 hits, 3 earned runs, which isn't great, but had 9 strikeouts. Like I said, the most he's had, and that was the second time the Giants had seen him. And this is a guy that's unusually high for him. A guy that's first percentile whip percentage, 5th percentile chase rate. The fact he went out there and got 9 Ks is a pretty good indicator that a guy in his 14th career MLB start is finally starting to figure out some things, maybe figuring out the pitches that he can get pitchers or batters to not see too well. And this is a Rockies team that, despite how they did yesterday, have struggled versus right-hand pitchers. Over the last 2 weeks, Rockies have the worst batting average at .188, the second highest K percentage of 29.4 versus right-handed pitching. So at the end of the day, I don't trust this Rockies offense at all. They got lucky. They got to face Trevor Williams, who's throwing it down the middle of the plate. Of course, you're going to do things with it. If Jake Irvin can come out here and give us a chance, the Nats bullpen hasn't really been using any of their decent arms. I know their bullpen isn't great, but when you're down, you're not going to use your best arms in your bullpen. If they're up in this game, which I expect them to be up because they're naturally going to cover the first 5-run line, which was Logan's pick yesterday, I think the Rockies are going to be on their fast pass to the way home. They don't want to play in this game. They got tomorrow off as well. Fading the Rockies, taking the team total under 4.5. But Logan, where are you going for your first pick?
Austin, I want to touch on your pick. I love it, right? I'm day early, Logan. Just go ahead and call it what it is. Of course, the Rangers Astros game went under yesterday, and I just nodded my head and said, "Yep." So when the Rockies come up and stink it up today, I'm so glad you're on that one. But I'm picking a full game total in mind, and I'm hoping there's no day early possibility on this one, right? Because they went under in yesterday's matchup. I'm going to the Royals and Guardians. I'm taking the over 10.5 total runs. Plus 100 odds on Caesars is currently best value. Now, at first, when I was looking at the lines, this one just stuck out like an absolute sore thumb. The thing I've had most success with, and in the past few seasons of betting baseball, believe it or not, is actually the line reading. Like when I find lines that I'm like, this just doesn't look right. This is baiting you pretty hard into taking the under. I take the over, and then it normally does work. Especially because this, seeing a 10.5 line is normally a line you see at Coors Field or even Great American Ballpark this year. Not something you see in Cleveland. So obviously there's something up with this game. The conditions are prime for hitting weather. It's going to be like mid 80s. The weather reports are that the wind is blowing straight out 13 miles per hour to center field, right center field. So there should be definitely some hit opportunities. The ball should carry for us today. And I think, after people saw a low scoring game yesterday, they might feel a little bit comfortable taking the under. I think the over is the way to go in this one. Gavin Williams starts for the Guardians, 3.74 ERA and a 1.31 whip on the year for Gavin Williams. Pretty, solid numbers. This is his third time facing the Royals, though. Previous 2 starts, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. So he's facing a team with the third time, facing them. I trust the line being set high as an indicator that this Royals offense is going to figure out how to hit him, right? First time they faced him, got shut out. That last time they faced him, he gave up 3 earned runs. So maybe he could be in line for a 3 to 5 earned run type game. That could definitely be in the cards after just putting up 1 run yesterday and only hitting 235 in their last 3 games. There has to be some sneaky run opportunities for this Royals team today. The books just don't set a total high for no reason. And I think also the sneaky, the stat here is that Gavin Williams has 4 walks in back-to-back starts. The way you jumpstart a bad offense like the Kansas City Royals and keep them in the game is by giving them free base runners. That's just like simple baseball 101. When a team can't hit you, just walk them and then they'll figure out how to hit you and get those runners in scoring position home. I think the Royals do get some hits and runs up on Gavin Williams today. And I also think the Guardians get some hits and runs up on Alec Marsh today. He's starting for the Royals, 6.2 ERA and a 1.43 whip. I mean, that's a high ERA. That's definitely obviously lending some evidence to the over. Marsh in his last start was hit around by the Yankees. He gave up 5 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings pitched. Definitely not his best outing. And Marsh he has a home run problem, which obviously with the wind blowing out today, you do like to see that. He's allowed a home run in every game this year, including 3 in his last start to the Yankees. He just missed locations, just hanging, sliders right over the middle of the plate. Obviously, these are MLB hitters. They know what to do with pitches like that. If he's making those mistakes again today, this Guardians team doesn't hit a lot of home runs, but they could definitely get some hard hit extra base hits and even home runs today. They're still an MLB team. You make mistake pitches, they will make you pay for it. And I think Marsh pays for it today. This Guardians offense, 7th in batting average versus righties on the year and 2nd best in strikeouts at home. They don't strike out a whole lot. And I think those are, 2 keys to us getting some run production today. Both these bullpens also, last point of note, are susceptible to some run opportunities. Over the last 7 days, this Guardians bullpen, 28th in bullpen ERA at a 7.23. The Royals, not much better. They're 20th in bullpen ERA, 3.8 bullpen ERA, but still, you guys see there should be plenty of run opportunities. Like these 2 starting pitchers should get hit around, and the 2 bullpens should get hit around as well. I know it's high, but this is a classic. I think it's high for a reason, and I'm going to go ahead and take the over 10.5 in this one. But Austin, what else you got for us?
I was trying to find a way to target the Guardians. I'm glad you're on the over because I was looking at them, and Alec Marsh, I feel like when he doesn't miss bats, he's giving up a lot of hard hit balls. And this is a Guardians team, like you touched on, doesn't strike out a whole lot. So Alec Marsh could be in for a tough outing. And Gavin Williams, obviously, talked about the walk issue. Now, I got 2 more plays. I'll have Logan touch on a nerfy at the end of the video, but let's dive into this first one because I'm going to switch up kind of how I've been betting things. And I really like this next one. It's going to be a same game parlay. White Sox plus 3.5 and the under 10.5 runs in that same game, minus 125 on DraftKings. I believe this was roughly minus 130, minus 135 on FanDuel. I think minus 125 on BetMGM as well. If you're like, Austin, I can't do same game parlays in my book. My full game pivots would be the full game under 9 and White Sox on the money line. I feel like we obviously have a ton of early games on today. I feel like everyone's going to be walking and just looking at our late slate. Everyone's going to be on the Cubs on the money line. Everyone's probably going to be on the full game over given the weather conditions. But I think we're going to see a good outing out of these, decent outing out of at least one of these pitchers. And hopefully that pitcher is going to be Lance Lynn, who's going to go for the White Sox. That's why everyone's going to be on the Cubs side. You look at Lance Lynn, he's starting here. He's at a 6.18 ERA and a 1.44 whip. Lynn has been a little better as of late, 5.40 ERA and a 1.28 whip. And the biggest thing I actually like is righties are only hitting 203 versus Lynn this season. Now you look at Lynn's last 5 home starts, he's actually been decent, 0, 3, 8, 2, and 1 earned run. I'm here to report if he gives up 8 earned runs, yeah, we got no chance. We ain't got a chance of hitting this one. But at the end of the day, I trust that this team and Lance Lynn could come out here and do his thing. I mean, Lance Lynn could be traded in a few days. This could be his last start in Chicago, unless he gets traded to the Cubs, which probably isn't a buying team. And this is a guy in Lance Lynn who's been getting crushed by lefties this year, but the righties are needed to produce for this Cubs offense, or else they're not going to do a whole lot. You look at Nico Herner, Suzuki, Swanson, Morel, Wisdom, all those guys are righties. Gomes. I mean, those are 5-6 righties that I just named, 5 of them likely in the lineup today. So he's been doing well against right-handed pitchers, hasn't given up a ton of home runs at home. And I think Lance Lynn, given the odds for not only Cubs to get a hit and Cubs to get home runs, I think Lance Lynn at least pitches decently today. I know everyone's going to be on his over 2.5 earned runs. So I'm not saying that's a dumb bet. You can take it. I just don't think this is a big outing for the Cubs offense. Obviously, put up a lot of runs yesterday against Michael Kopech, but I think Lance Lynn's going to make them work. His strikeout props at to 7.5. They clearly think he's going to get some Ks. He has to swing and a miss. It comes down to if he can avoid throwing those turkeys right down the middle of the plate, and I think he can. Now, obviously, we need him to pitch decently, but we also can't allow Marcus Stroman to come out here and stink up the joint. I mean, you look at his numbers, 3.09 ERA and a 1.14 whip. Obviously, a guy like Stroman has not been good. Last 4 starts, 6.20 ERA and 1.47 whip. The fact that given the weather, given how these two pitchers have performed, and you still setting the over-under like 8.5, even 9 on some books, I really feel like it should be closer to 9.5, which is why I think a lot of people will be on the over. But I think that we're going to see Stroman at least pitch decently today. But even if Stroman wants to go out there, he can give up 3-4 earned runs, and that would actually not be terrible for us because we need the White Sox plus 3.5. So we can't let, I mean, Stroman could go out there and throw a masterclass, and Lynn could match him, and then we're looking good. But still, at the end of the day, the fact that over-under in the first 5 innings is still sitting at 4.5, given both of these two pitchers could legitimately go out there and give up 5 runs by themselves, makes me think that this is a lower scoring game in this one. So I'm going to take this one. I know it's a weirdo kind of play. We haven't done a lot of these, but like I said, we're switching up things because recently what we've been taking just hasn't been hitting. So we're giving us a little bit of wiggle room on the full game under at 10.5, which I really liked at 9. And also I think the White Sox get the money line too, but I'd rather take them at plus 3.5. You get a little bit of wiggle room there too. Now, for my fourth and final play of the day, and I'll throw it to Logan to talk about a nerfy, although I probably argue the one that I'm about to talk about is probably the nerfy we would lean towards, but we'll see what he says. I'm going to go to another same game parlay, and I'm going to take the Rays team total under 5.5 and the Marlins team total under 4.5. This is obviously in the same game, an early start, currently minus 105 on DraftKings. If you want to play it safer, take the Marlins up to 5.5. If you want, I think that's minus 140. Now, you can take this on DraftKings. You can take it identically on BetMGM. For the people on FanDuel that are like, I can't bet this on FanDuel, I don't really have a good pivot for you, honestly. My full game pivot would be the under 7.5 runs, but there's plenty of possibilities where this play hits and that full game under at 7.5 does not hit. I mean, you could talk about the Rays scoring 5, the Marlins scoring 4. Mine's going to hit, but that under is not going to hit, which is why I like this instead of taking the full game under, because I know it's an unorthodox play, but when we're struggling to get wins, we got to find different ways to hopefully make some money. And I think this one is a really good one. Now let's talk these two pitchers because it's going to be an early start. We're going to look at the Rays, a team that is under 5.5 team total runs in 10 straight games. Sandy Alcantara on the mound for the Marlins, 4.70 ERA and a 1.28 whip. Sandy coming off a game where he gave up 4 earned runs. I know it hasn't been the ideal year for Sandy coming off a Cy Young year, but the last 2 times he's given up 4 earned runs. He's gone out there and allowed only 1 earned run at the next start. This is a guy in Sandy who's out. Perhaps going to be sitting at 18.5. If he's cooking, he's going to go 6-7 innings pitched. And this is a guy in Sandy. I know he hasn't been good, but teams just haven't been scoring runs, a ton of runs against Sandy, in back-to-back starts. He hasn't actually, look at his years. He hasn't given up back-to-back 6+ run starts. And all, even him plus the bullpen hasn't given up 6+ runs in any game in back-to-back starts. Just did it last game. I think Sandy at least does his job. Now you're looking at the other side where Zach Eflin has pitched pretty well, but this is also another struggling offense. Just like the Rays, the Marlins are struggling. They are under 4.5 for team total runs in 8 straight. Zach Eflin will start 3.36 ERA and a 0.99 whip. The whip is, I think, the lowest or second lowest in the MLB, and teams are under this line in 16 of his 19 starts. So look, at the end of the day, Eflin, high ground ball pitcher. His ground ball rates are ridiculous. The Marlins have grounded into the most double plays this season, and it's by a large margin. And the Rays, when we get to the bullpens, I think Eflin's going to pitch decently. When you get to the bullpens, Rays have the 4th best bullpen ERA over the last 10 games. The Marlins are middle of the pack, right around 20th. But if Sandy pitches well, like I assume him to do, he's going to at least go 6 innings, potentially even 7, and give us, even if the Marlins are losing, maybe we'll only need one inning out of their bullpen if Sandy goes 7. So End of the day, I know this is a weirdo one, but I really think it's a good one. I think that if this one hits, we might start doing different things like this when we like the full game under, but just something happens where maybe we have a little bit of wiggle room here. I mean, if the Rays scored 6 runs, they're probably not going under the full game under 7.5. And if that happens, then I'll be real sad if it's like a 6-0 or 6-1 final score. And I just don't trust this Marlins offense against Zach Eflin, who's going to give up some hits here or there, but he's been getting a low whip and going to get them to ground into some double plays, get out of the inning pretty easily. So I know this is a weird one, but Rays team total under 5.5, Marlins under 4.5, team total, combine them together, same game parlay, -105 on DraftKings. But Logan, those are our 4 favorite plays. I know you can touch on a Nerfy, but is it going to be the one that I just talked about?
I'd play the Nerfy in yours, honestly. We're not flying the flags as a legitimate Nerfy play in yours, but I think yours stands a really good chance. Probably if I'm looking at the slate, yours is the most obvious Nerfy. Now, obviously, Austin and I, when we bet this long enough, we understand the most obvious Nerfy on the slate is not necessarily the one you want to pick. Sandy Alcantara is our Nerfy goat, though, so if you want to go ahead and ride him on your own, I totally respect that. But Austin, I do like the plays we cooked up today. Hopefully, we can have a winning day. Let's get after it.
Yeah, let's get to it. Let's go 3-1, 4-0. Really jumpstart the channel. I know it's a weird, different card, but we've got a lot of early games. Get them locked in. Our parlay of the day is live on Dimers. Links in the description, top of the description, and right underneath my face somewhere down here. Go check it out. You check out our 3 hitters that we like to get a hit. Let's have a great Wednesday, Logan. We'll be back in on Thursday, hopefully with the brooms out. We'll see you guys then. Peace.